Today's podcast is brought to you by Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, well, let me explain. It's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free. It has creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor distributes your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many other platforms. You don't even have to think about it. You just load up your podcast, you drop it in, you tweak it, you add ads. You can make money from your podcast. There's no minimum listenership either. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Club Cool puts the podcast out on Anchor. So do all the other Wash Media podcasts. And we've done this from other platforms. Nothing is as seamless or pretty or easy or just, perfect for putting out a podcast. So check out Anchor. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. If you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. That's what we do. I just get my audio. It's very easy to come in here and edit it and put it all together. And then I just send it out, and it's right where I want it to be on all those different platforms. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Club Cool podcast. This is your host, Barrett Dudley. And I just wanted to jump on here real quick to set up the interview and let you guys know what's going on. I had the opportunity to talk with the CEO and co-founder of SoleSavy. His name is Dejan Pralica. He goes by DP. He was a really cool guy. I enjoyed getting the chance to speak to him. And just wanted to acknowledge that SoleSavy was an advertiser on Club Cool in Q4 of 2021. That is how I had access to DP and how we were able to get this interview set up. And so there is an element of this interview that might sound or read a little bit like advertorial. And, there's no getting away from that. I still thought that it was really interesting to talk to him. He had some great insights about sneaker culture in general and where the game is. So while I did talk to him about the SoleSavy app, I wanted to get its origin story and kind of hear his thoughts and processes behind it. In the back half of the interview, we also had a chance to just kind of shoot the shit a little bit and talk about sneakers and talk about what's happening out there. So I think it was great. I think it was enjoyable. I just did want to jump on and acknowledge that they were a sponsor. And so check us out. You can support the podcast directly at patreon.com/clubcool. Follow us on Instagram at clubcoolpod. And without further ado, let's jump into that interview. Check it out, and we'll see you guys next week.
Welcome to the club.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Club Cool podcast. I am your host, Barrett Dudley, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. I'm really excited to bring, somebody new on the show. He's going to have a lot of good information for us today. I think you'll be really excited. I've got Dejan Pralica. Everybody knows him as DP, though. He's the co-founder of the SoleSavy app, which is kind of an app community hybrid that is delivering all sneakerheads an entire battery of tools and resources to make sneakers more accessible. I think we all know and have been frustrated over the last several years with how difficult it is to get the shoes we want. So today we're going to learn a little bit about DP's business, what makes the SoleSavy experience and community kind of unique and special and different. And then since we have the opportunity to talk to an expert, we'll take some time and ask him some questions about kind of the sneaker game overall, what's happening, what to look for in 2022. DP, it's great to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on. I love the intro.
Yeah, good. All right. So let's just start with the story of SoleSavy. I think most of my listeners should be pretty familiar with the product. I've talked about it before. We've had some ad reads on over the
Yep.
course of of Q4 2021. But I'd love to hear kind of in your own words, just a little bit about how the story starts. You know, what's the origin of it? How did you come to kind of form this idea, and how did it get off the ground?
Absolutely. I've been a sneakerhead most of my adult life. My parents immigrated to Canada, so typical immigrant parents, they weren't spending money on sneakers. So when I was old enough to afford to spend my own money on shoes is where my love started, and that was late 2000s after I graduated college. And from then I started my first company, Kick Steals. Really early blog social era around, like, when Twitter was new, Instagram was new. We were using it in a way that was simple but innovative, which was like, here's a link to buy a sneaker,
Right.
and that
Right.
was it. That was everything people had to do
Yeah.
as far as jumping through hoops to get shoes. Obviously in the digital world. And I've been doing that for a decade now. Met a lot of great people, businesses, brands, really grew my network. And then in 2017, I noticed there was a shift happening. Something was wrong. And I went down this dark rabbit hole and found out it was related to bots, right? And that was about the same time when, tickets. Remember how hard it was to get tickets on Ticketmaster? Like mid 2010s, it was just like you couldn't get anything. Everyone was reselling them. It was crazy. And then obviously there's a law that prevents all that stuff, yada yada. It inspired me to want to do something for the sneaker community and the culture that would help enable consumers to succeed versus try to take away from them and upcharge them to pay resale for a product that they want, that the brands are trying to sell to them directly. So we just wanted to help. And I am not a technical person. I cannot make an app myself. I just said, what can I do to start this company? And me and my co-founder sat down and said, let's just find other people who agree with us, who have the same mindset and align with that vision, and then we'll figure it out from there. And that was really the start.
When I kind of when I joined the Soul Savvy app and the community and logged in and
Mhm.
signed up and everything, there's a lot of verbiage and kind of communication about how much of a community it is,
Yep.
and that's
Yep.
like that feels like a really kind of key feature for the experience in the app overall, because it's beyond it's still all kind of based in like the links, right? It's
Yeah.
a little bit more we've upgraded from the Twitter links. It's now the monitors and the add to cart,
Right.
the pre-cart links and that type of stuff. But
Yep.
beyond that, like, I've been in there for a month now, and there's this gigantic Slack group essentially.
Yeah.
That's really like a key piece of this, right? Is the
Yep.
ability to not only get access to the sneakers, but also get access to all of these like-minded people, right? How'd you choose Slack? How did the idea for community kind of come into this equation?
Yeah. I'm a child of the internet. Discussion forums. Those were the good old days when I was
Nike
a
Talk.
teenager. Yeah, Nike Talk is a great example, especially in sneakers. But I grew up as a graphic designer, so I spent a lot of time in forums just talking to other people who were doing the same thing. And I was the nerdy, kid who wanted to spend more time on Photoshop than he did doing anything else at school, right? So I could find people on the internet who reciprocated that back, and that's exactly what this is, right? As sneakerheads, people who are passionate about something, sometimes you don't have people to jam with to talk about the thing that you love because they don't get it, right? I have 500 pairs of shoes. That might make you, that look on your face, yeah, that's the exact look from someone who's not a crazy sneakerhead,
Yeah, I
that
mean,
they make a,
I see some gems behind you, so I'm looking
yeah.
forward to getting to those here in a few minutes. But
Right. And yeah, my point is just, I think we as people are evolving and we want to feel a sense of belonging and feel like we're contributing to something and some social value. And social media hasn't really done that, in my opinion. I think it's separated separated us more than anything, and we just want to come together. And again, that's the underlying foundation of what we're building. Is like, you love shoes, I love shoes. We're going to build stuff around that and around that shared experience, and that at the end of the day is the most important thing, because if you don't buy a shoe today, this month, you're still going to enjoy kicking it with other people who you're building these friendships online.
Yeah, I think that while the kind of the monitors, whether it's for New Balance or Jordan or Yeezy or Nike, can be a little overwhelming if you're not like treating it almost like a job. But the channels within the Slack and now they're
Yep.
kind of like commingled with each other where they're kind of combining community and technology. So there's a channel for me for here, in Austin, and then I can choose a channel for my size. Those I
Right.
found really really cool because that's a way to kind of like uh, beat the resale market in a way without having to like be an internet or technology expert. So that's been
Yep.
really really cool to see, and I think is one of the dopest parts of the whole
Yeah.
thing.
And that's kind of like the whole, obviously that foundation for us is community and people, but then how do you build on top of that, right? Point of sale. What does the point of sale experience look like? And you just mentioned more of the human interaction, which is like, hey, I'm a size 9 and I live in Austin. Where's everyone else who's in this with me, and how do we connect together? And then there's the technological portion of, hey, here's a specific link that's delivered by our technology that hits you the second it's released and lets you buy product. And how do we build from there and customize it? That's all things we're doing. But at the end of the day, that's what sneaker culture has been about. It's just been about people.
So I think it's safe to say that SoleSavy is decidedly against bots. They're
Yeah.
it's an exploitation of what's happening here.
Mhm.
Same kind of goes for our feelings about large scale resellers as well. Beyond community and the pre-cart links, that type of thing. What are some tools that are kind of like how are we leveling the playing field essentially? And is
Yeah.
is that even possible in 2022?
It definitely is. The first start of that is strategy, right? You got to know where to invest your time and where to be purchasing these things. There's a lot of great websites, a lot of great stores that have bot protection, right? That's a key check mark in success is this retailer or this brand actively working on making sure you get product versus a bot. After that, it's us giving you the tools that help you match up with a bot or someone who's trying to resell, which is like speed. Comes down to speed, right? If you have to sit there and wait for someone to share a link with you manually, et cetera, you're just going to be too slow. How do you get to payment? We're building, drop alerts is a great example. You're looking for Jordan 1 patent bread. I was in a meeting, talking with people, saw in the corner of my eye, it said Jordan 1 patent bread, Shoe Palace, tapped into that thing. 1,500 pairs restocked in the middle of the day. There's no way to be prepared for that,
Yeah.
um, unless obviously you've set yourself up for that, right? So it's really just building that technology that can combat bots and keep you in that same playing field where you can be just as quick or quicker than them. Which to some people they're going to listen to me talk and go, "You're lying. I don't believe you." But
Really,
it's
really,
100%.
what you're saying is you need to have your notifications going at even when you're slammed in a meeting.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm a new father. I'm 8 months into it. My shopping habits have completely changed. I used to be the guy who was always online at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, right? Nice and early, like wouldn't miss a Thursday, Friday, Saturday drop, no matter what. But now I have a baby, which I spend my mornings with. My shopping habits are like, what alert shows up on my phone for the things I've asked for, and can I buy it? Am I there to buy it? Right? I've kind of shifted, and again, that's for us to do is like we got to build different product verticals based off who you are. Again, are you in this meeting? Are you recording right now? And an alert's going to pop up that you're going to stop paying attention for like 5 seconds to hit the buy button. We got to build in different places for different people, and we're getting there, right? But again, this all just started with like, hey, we love shoes, and how can we do this together?
So you mentioned that you're a new father. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank
That's really
you.
exciting, and I know that priorities like definitely change when you're a parent. But can you
Yeah.
confirm for those of us with no kids that just because you have a kid does not mean you lose interest in
No,
sneak like
no.
you still have that desire to
Yeah.
be on the Slack and like checking your notifications and engaging with all that?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. It's just I'm not going to put the baby down while feeding him to, you got to take your lumps in those situations. But no, it hasn't changed anything. It's actually made me a better sneakerhead because it's taught me patience, and it's taught me not to fall for that FOMO, which I think is really big in
Yeah,
sneakers. It's
yeah.
like, hey, you took that L, you got to have it now. Here's just buy them for $500. It's fine. Just buy them.
Yeah,
Just buy
I
them.
feel
Right.
like the perspective is probably what you gain the most. That it's like,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
definitely not the most important thing about
Yeah.
your day.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
there's shoes dropping every single day of the year, just nonstop. There's plenty of stuff to buy.
yeah. So going forward, 2022. What are some cool big projects that you guys have in the works? If you can clue us in on any
Yeah.
of those. What's
Yeah.
just in general, kind of long term, like what's growth look like for SoleSavvy beyond just continually growing the community and adding new members?
Yeah. So that is really, again, like, I think people's needs and wants are going to shift as the industry evolves. In 2 years, our members might go, "Hey, actually, I want more Fortnite sneakers and metaverse hoodies," and we can do that for them, right? If that's what they're asking for, because again, as our customers, they're telling us what they need and what they see value in. Short term, this year there's two things that we're doing. One is our peer-to-peer marketplace. I believe that system is pretty broken, and it's not designed to create a valuable experience for both sides, the buyer and the seller. It's usually kind of one-sided. So we're launching a peer-to-peer marketplace for our members. We're calling it Collect, and the premise is really simple. You can do everything you need to do within this marketplace. As a loose term, you can buy sneakers, you can sell them, you can trade them with other people, and you can also showcase your collection. So even if I don't want to sell anything, I can upload everything I own just to show you, like, hey, here's my SoleSavvy profile and here's all the shoes I own. And how we build on that will be super fun, and I'm excited because this is just a beta. And I should say here, we're not charging any fees for that, right? So we're not looking to collect any transaction fees. We're just there to provide a safe space for people to execute on those things, buying, selling, and trading, with a layer of KYC. Are you familiar with what KYC is?
I don't think so.
Know your customer. So it's like, you have to verify your identity to be able to participate in the marketplace, right? You and me should not do a sale for a sneaker if you haven't validated you are who you say you are, right? It just, like, it
Sure.
lowers the amount of risk and fraud, by providing your ID and your credit card, kind of like Airbnb, right? Would you go stay in someone's apartment if Airbnb hadn't verified everything that they're saying they're doing? So, why would we trade expensive sneakers and between each other without that layer?
Yeah, I appreciate the concept of that because I think eBay's been better about it, but if you're messing around on StockX or Goat and you let's say
Yeah,
you are going to splurge on something at resale value, it's always so disappointing and disheartening to like see the price and then get to the end and just get walloped with like the 12 or 13% processing fee and taxes
yeah,
and all of that. And so that's I love how y'all are kind of roping it in to the price of admission for the
yeah,
app and the community. And because it's basically like if you've taken the time to join, verify your identity, you're paying the monthly fee. It's like that's kind of your that makes you
yeah,
feel a little bit safer about the experience in general, right? That you've got the confirmation that who you're dealing with and doing business with is like, has the same goals and wants that you do.
yeah. And we're just trying to simplify all this, right? Like, if you are someone who enjoys sneakers, you know, we have something for you across that entire journey, right? Content, community at the very beginning when you're just like reading and thinking about, the shoes you want to buy at point of purchase through those links and the strategy and the guides and all raffles, all that fun stuff. And at the end of it, when you're like, you know what, I don't want this anymore, or hey, I missed out, I do want to get this thing, right? Keeping that within our community is important because you as the consumer, you hold all the power, right? We just tend to give our power away to other people whose goal, again, businesses are businesses. There's no
Sure.
shots there, but their goal is to drive up their sales, their GMV, gross merchandise value, right? So they're thinking about it. How can I sell more of this? Where I'm thinking about is like, how can I make this experience more enjoyable for you? Because you're a part of this club, this community, this membership. It's not the Costco model, but it's like, hey, come on in, we'll take care of you.
Yeah. Yeah. So how long has Soul Savvy been around at this point?
We are coming up on we're at 3.5 years now, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a really fun journey.
Yeah, yeah. So still, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that's still pretty new.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it seems like it's really churning along and is looking pretty polished for being kind of in its the younger stages of of a company.
Yeah, we were fully bootstrapped up until like less than a year ago. So it's just been a lot of growing the team, the company, the product, and building around people. But that's the fun of it, right? We answer to the community and what they want to see. So we just got to build for them. And that's where Collect came from. They're like, hey, I just want to buy shit from other people
Right.
without all the other headaches.
Yep. Yeah. And so, and where are you based now? You said you grew up in Canada. Are you stateside now? Or are you still in Canada?
No, still in Canada, Vancouver, BC. Bunkered down with a house and a baby. So I ain't leaving anytime soon.
So I was actually, I should mention here, but before we cut to a break, that you're no stranger to podcasts. You host one yourself. It's the SoleSavy podcast. You do some solo pods called Tier Zero, kind of like shining light, illuminate on a bunch of different aspects of this. You mentioned the Shopify bot protection. I just had that episode pulled up and was listening to it. Just really, really enlightening type of stuff. If you just are interested in like the kind of the nitty gritty behind all of this, like, it was cool to kind of learn and I work for a clothing company as well, so I've got some knowledge about Shopify and all that. But
I love it.
The fact that like it requires a company to basically fork over $25K a year to even get to the level of having the bot protection, right? So you can definitely learn a whole lot more by checking out the SoleSavy and the Tier Zero podcast, probably wherever you're listening to Club Cool. DP, we're going to take a quick break now, hear from a couple of today's sponsors, and then we'll come back and get some takes from you on the sneaker game in general.
Awesome.
Today's podcast is brought to you by ZocDoc. Finding and booking a doctor who's right for you doesn't need to be a terrible experience. Look, I know there's always so many questions. Will they take your insurance? Will they understand your needs and listen to what you're actually saying? Will they be available when you can see them? With ZocDoc, the answer can be a refreshingly pain-free yes. I use ZocDoc. It's very easy to find exactly what you're looking for. You know you're going to get a quality doctor, and they make all of those things that I just mentioned easily, whether it's in network, out of network, using your insurance, finding a time that actually works on your schedule, not having to wait 8 weeks to book something that you feel is important now. It's really nice to have that emphasis on you instead of in somebody else's time and schedule. ZocDoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient reviewed, that take your insurance, and that are available when you need them. You can read up on local doctors, you can get verified patient reviews and see what other humans, real humans, had to say about their visit, so that when you walk into that doctor's office, you're set up to see someone in your network who gets you. Go to ZocDoc.com, choose a time slot, and whether you want to see the doctor in person or do a video visit, and just like that, you're booked. Find the doctor that is right for you and book an appointment that works for your schedule. Every month, millions of people are using ZocDoc, and I'm one of them. It's my go-to whenever I need to find and book a doctor. In this chaotic world of healthcare, which nobody understands, let's be honest, ZocDoc can be your trusted guide to find a quality doctor in a way that is surprisingly pain-free. With ZocDoc, you can get your docs in a row. Go to ZocDoc.com/clubcool and download the ZocDoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are even available within 24 hours. That's ZocDoc.com/clubcool, ZocDoc.com/clubcool. All right, DP, we're back. And now I just want to kind of ask you some questions, get your takes on what's happening with sneakers in general. But first, let's start with this. You mentioned metaverse hoodies. You mentioned this idea of kind of like uploading your collection, which sounds very digital and like, is kind of swaying over into that NFT territory almost. Consumers are just like, it feels crazy right now with the way that we're treating all sorts of commodities and goods as like real asset classes. And, I just like, you've got traditional stuff like art or stocks. And then, then you start getting over into crypto, and then there's memorabilia and trading cards and sneakers. And I just learned that the fitted hats, fitted ball caps are going nuts right now. Are you know about this?
Yeah. Hat Club is a favorite of the links in the channels in SoleSavy, because hats are hard to get.
Yeah, are we just talking like, is this just regular like New Era caps?
I mean, depends on the brands and if there's a, I'm not a hat guy, so
Okay,
I'm
all right.
actually the worst person to talk about this, but I do know it's a big request internally within the community.
I imagine that SoleSavy is very much staying on top of kind of like all of these burgeoning
Yeah.
collectible, forums and classes of things, basically.
Yeah, yeah, and I think again, as collectors, you can obviously see behind me, I have cause and bear bricks and basketballs. I'm inherently curious to collect other things, so we've seen that just organically in the community. I think what's interesting with the kind of the shift that we're seeing in consumers, and it's not even consumers, it's other people who are seeing these things as an asset class, right? I think it's a dangerous territory because it's not driven by the passion or the interest for that item. It's driven from a monetary value, and at some point, when that changes, who are you selling to? Who's driving it, right? And I think that's really tough, and especially in sneakers, we see the conversation all the time. People go, "This shit ain't for me anymore." Like, the sneakers isn't about me wanting to wear them, and I think that's going to turn a lot of people off in just a variety of different verticals. And we've seen that even with PS5s. Like,
Right. Yep.
man, it's been 2 years of just being tough to get, and that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. A casual gamer like myself, like I mean, I wouldn't really know where to start on even acquiring one, but I'm certainly aware of like how difficult it is to even procure
Right.
something like that. But in your opinion, some of these things, do you think they'll fall off? Like, is some of this going to go the way of the Beanie Baby, or are we just in like a completely different era where this is just here to stay?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a mix of both, right? We're going to see stuff that's just being pumped up because of excitement and hype and FOMO, and it will die off. And we're going to see things survive and have a lasting legacy. And I think sneakers is one of those that we've proven like, hey, this has been going on for a long time. Now, could it cool off a little bit? Everyone talks about sneakers and the resale industry is going to be $30 billion and people are going to pay resale for the rest of their lives. Um, I don't know about you, but there's like only so many times I want to get like smacked upside the head before I like just don't want to do something anymore.
Yeah.
And I think with the older generation of sneakerheads, I think they're getting to that frustration point. But again, it's like, what is the 14-year-old look at sneakers like and appreciate it in the next decade? I don't know. I'm not living in that generation. The counter is NFTs, which is just like bonkers insane right now. If you told me they were around in 30 years, I'd believe you. If you told me it died down in 3 months, I'd believe you. Right?
Yeah.
It's just like there's so much to figure out there.
Yeah, I mean, over the last 20 years, there was kind of what would you the heyday of kind of old Nike collecting and the original SB run and all was kind of early to mid 2000s. Then it kind of died down a little bit, started picking up steam in 2000 teens, and then as you guys kind of mentioned in the SoleSavy State of Sneakers Volume 1, which you guys just released, I think it's largely agreed upon that like the off-white Nike the 10 was kind of the turning point for all of this.
And changed a lot, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I mean, it's like I'm not sure I could see myself having the same level of enthusiasm that I do now for a whole lot longer. More than 5 to 10 years. But I don't know. There seems to be ways and things that continue to revitalize this. And then, as you said, it's like now with how big of a business this has become, there are always new customers as well. It's no longer like a counterculture or kind of a niche thing that a select group of people do. It's like very much, I think every 13-year-old knows what a Yeezy is and knows what a Jordan is and
Yeah.
has knowledge of it. So it's very hard for me to say that the sneaker bubble will ever pop. And I
No,
don't
I
know
agree.
yeah, and that just kind of seems where we are. But it certainly will be interesting. So uh, to talk about your sneaker collection, you're like we said a few minutes ago, you're a father, you still have a lot of interest. You have over 500 sneakers. I was a
Yeah.
little, I was curious, and you've kind of already answered this, but like I'm always, you watch a designer runway show, and inevitably the designer comes out to take a bow and is wearing nothing that you just saw on the runway. And I've talked to some other, kind of like resellers or former collectors that are now just like wearing nothing but Chucks and Adidas Gazelles, basically. Do you find yourself like it seems like you still find yourself collecting grails and
Oh
yeah.
yeah, no, I'm living and breathing it.
Yeah, you're
You know,
living what you preach, basically.
100%. I love footwear. I love sneakers. I love the storytelling. I love what it means. You know, the shoes that have a story and a purpose behind them are my favorite ones. Like, you know, the Watch the Throne LeBron nines, one of my favorite albums of all time. And, you know, on a day where I feel like making a statement about something, or I'm feeling like listening to hip hop or rap, like that might be a shoe I put on and pull from my collection. That's how I get to having 500 pairs of shoes. It's less about like, hey, let me just have 500. And it's like, hey, like, how do I curate my collection so that every shoe has some purpose or a memory or means something to me? So I'm in deep to the maybe sometimes disapproval of my wife.
I mean, I was gonna ask you like what are some grails you don't have, but I see Nike Air Yeezys, I see Mars Yards up there, I see Chicago's. I mean, like, what are those Dior lows? Like it
Yes.
you seem to have all
Yes.
the big ones.
Yeah, this is a decade of collecting and filling the gaps. And you know, someone asked me that question: is there something a grail I would chase right now or be missing? It would probably be a pair of like Oregon Jordans of some kind.
Yeah.
I would love to own a P exclusive, but I'm not very interested in laying down 4 racks on that shoe.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, I think I'm really happy with my collection at this point. It's just adding stuff that you know, brings me joy.
Who's got the better collection, you or PJ Tucker?
Ah man, come on, it's obviously PJ. But like, one of us is multi-million dollar contracts, and the other one of us
I don't
is
know,
just a
man.
sneaker.
I'm loving what I'm
Sneaker.
seeing up there. So
Yeah.
it might be hard to say. Okay, let's talk kind of about the game in general. I mentioned that State of Sneakers Volume One that you guys just put out.
Mhm.
Very cool report where you interviewed, what was it, 3,500 or so
Yep. Yep.
sneakerheads, and there were just some eye-opening numbers in there that I think kind of speak to what's happening right now. About 25% of the people that you surveyed have 75 or more pairs of shoes. And
Yep.
then well over half had 25 plus, basically,
Yep.
which is just, I mean, that's a lot of sneakers for any one person to own. And I'm
Mhm.
sure that I'm in the 25 plus group as well. But like, is the sheer number of these things that we collect, is that why kind of like every time, a general release Nike Dunk comes out, it still holds resale value and you still can't get it? Or, I mean, what's happening there? How you mentioned that a new sneaker is dropping every single day. How do so many of these things continue to have such incredible resale value, basically?
Yeah, it's the culture's growing exponentially as far as like people who are interested in the shoes. And I think at the same time, you know, people forget these brands are they are buying, sorry, not buying, they are producing and projecting future quantities months in advance, you know, a year and a half in advance. So, you know, the growth that the space has seen, they haven't really caught up to yet. And sometimes it's strategic, right? With Dunk specifically, they've purposely been trickling them out versus flooding the market because they want you to want them. There's
Yeah.
some gamification happening to that. So every release is a little bit different. I would say right now the brands more than ever are really good at what they do as far as you know, maintaining the demand. And sometimes they make mistakes and sometimes they don't. But it's an evolving process.
Is Nike themselves putting a ton of emphasis on resale, basically? I mean, do they need a certain percentage
Uh,
of sneakers that release to fetch,
Yeah,
certain dollar amounts?
you know, I can't speak for them. I think some people would say Nike really likes it when stuff resells. I would argue the opposite of that. I think there's certain shoes like an Off-White or a Travis Scott Jordan that they understand it'll be $2,000 and they're okay with that. But then
Mhm.
there's also Air Max ones and certain shoes that they make a lot of. They're to ensure everyone gets it and they don't care about the resale dollar value. It's a really tricky place to be, and honestly, could require a whole podcast to dive into. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with like a blanket statement of like no, but they're cautious and aware of it.
They Nike specifically seem to have made some acknowledgement in 2021 that they kind of knew that like the perceived fairness of the sneakers app was totally shot, and that they were at least aware of like in general, the kind of the way that consumers were being turned off by the whole
Yeah.
process. Any predictions? Like, do you think that they would ever change their playbook at all over the next couple of years, or is is that method, is the sneakers app here to stay? I would love to see them try to, they've got entire squads of engineers. You'd think that they could figure out their own type of bot protection. If Union and Ama Manier can, like, certainly Nike
Mhm.
can, right?
Yeah, there's challenge. Everyone has different challenges, and I think Nike's biggest challenge is everyone's coming to them on this one app, and every customer believes they're deserving of that pair. And how do you manage that, right? How
Yeah,
do you
yeah,
use data and retention and customer insights to decide, hey, you, this person, get to win this lottery and keep that as fair as possible? I think we're in such a new era as far as like digital and analytics. Nike's bought, I believe, 2 or 3 companies in that space just to try to better understand customers.
hmm,
And I don't think they have the answers right now. They have to figure it out. They have to innovate. I will give kudos to a company like NBA Top Shot, in the NFT space around, basketball trading cards essentially, but video clips on blockchain and NFTs, etc. They've developed a pretty fair system, right? You know what your score is as a consumer, as a collector. You know what you have access to based off your purchase history. They're very clear how much we're releasing and what your odds are. And I think that's something that the space can do better, is if we provide consumers more transparency and say, hey, there's only 1,000 pairs
yeah.
and 100,000 people are trying. Just a heads up, you're probably not going to get it. That sets the expectation up. It's just so much easier to take that L and not get the pair versus like having your hopes very high and not having a clue what's going on.
Yeah, that's I've actually never thought about that, but that's a really good point. Even if, you know, individual sneakers on the sneakers app or on the confirmed app or wherever it might be, like, if there was some indication of just how small your chances were, that would,
Yeah,
because we all know that when we buy a Powerball ticket, we stand zero shot,
exactly.
but it's like it
Exactly.
every
But you
time
play the
you
game anyways.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
every time you log on to one of these apps or try to get in through a foot site or whatever, it's like you do feel that kind of almost sense of entitlement where you, like you said,
Yeah.
you put it really well, that you kind of deserve access to
Yeah.
this sneaker in a
I'm
way.
a I'm a good Nike customer. I deserve this product
Right.
because I don't have any other pairs, which is a totally fair feeling to have. And just imagine from a, user experience perspective, if you open the sneakers app and you see that new Jordan and it says 15,000 pairs and you enter the raffle for 10 minutes, and as you're sitting there watching, the amount of people entering just goes up and you go, "Oh shit, this is going to be harder than I expected," right?
Yeah.
And that's why, again, I liken to NBA Top Shot is, they had a really limited drop a week ago. I qualified as a collector who could purchase it. I entered the queue. I knew my odds were 30%. I struck out and I went, all right, what more can I ask for, other than entitlement and feeling like I deserve it? But
Right. Right.
that helped me with the situation versus like going in blind and not knowing,
Yeah.
right?
I,
So
I, did.
I think that's a fix that, an easy one as well, that could help a lot of people out.
Transparency would definitely be nice for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's pivot here. I know you did a podcast on the SoleSavy feed about 2022 predictions, but
Yeah.
I was hoping you could maybe give us a couple, or just kind of talk through some things that are happening in the sneaker market, what we might look out for in 2022. I know Jerry Lorenzo over at Adidas basketball could be big. New Balance seems to be eating up market share at an incredible rate. What are some thoughts there?
Yeah, I think, I tweeted this the other day. There's no better time than right now to be in sneakers. There's a lot of different options. There's brands competing. There's innovation. There's just cool stuff happening across the spectrum, and you just need to pick. What are you interested in, but also being open minded to other things, right? There's going to be situations where, again, Nike's going to purposely only make 10,000 pairs, and your odds are going to be poor. You have to understand that situation. I think the biggest thing that's going to come out of 2022, and I said this in the podcast, I think it's really the year of the creator, the independent brand. People want to, again, feel a purpose, a sense of belonging. I would love to support the next up and coming, Jerry Lorenzo,
Yeah, yeah,
and buy that sneaker early, because I'm like, damn, I love the vision and the design of that, versus wait for Nike to do it, right?
yeah,
So, and I think some of those frustrations of getting product from the big brands is going to trickle down into like, hey, who's just making cool shit? Because I just want to support again that independent brand or that creator, right? And I think it's a fun time to do that, and we're seeing some of that pop up, and it's exciting.
Are there any small creators that you like in that space specifically?
I mean, I'll give a shout out to Mosh. He was a customizer, still is, but
Mm-hmm.
has a footwear brand. He has a line of sneakers. He releases, I don't know, a couple hundred pairs, does fun colorways and collabs, and his audience gets to buy a piece of his story. That's awesome, right? Again, to the NFT space, because it's kind of like a new crowdfunding. We're seeing brands like or companies, I should say, they're not fully fleshed brands, but Flowers for Society is a company out of Europe that's creating a sneaker. I bought it for 200 euro because I'm like, I just want to support this independent brand and see what's good.
Right.
We have Colton Rain. They're making a high-end fashion shoe. I don't know what it's going to cost. I'm kind of just tracking it. I think it's just an interesting time across all sorts of consumer verticals, whether it's sneakers or clothing or collectibles of any kind. It's just innovation is ripe, and I love to see that. That's only good for us.
Yeah, I like the I like those thoughts about putting more kind of energy towards the people that are not associated with the giant conglomerates. But
Mm.
listening to you also makes me think of a guy like Salehi Bembury that is seems to almost be like freelancing across
Yeah.
any brand that will
Well,
have
listen.
him.
Yeah.
So he's got the Canada Goose collection. He's done Crocs, and he's done
Yeah.
the New Balance. And I could absolutely see if he wanted to strike out on his own and make I feel like he's done the work. If he wanted to do
Yeah.
a solo sneaker that was not brand associated, it would probably be really successful.
And yeah, 100%. And he's followed kind of that traditional model of I'm the creator, I'm the influencer, I'm the brand. I'm going to work with a bigger brand to amplify my image
Yep.
and get that cosign. I think we're shifting to that point of I don't need you. I have the people, and let me
Yeah.
create for them, and they will inherently support you. Now, there's benefits to all that stuff, um, to working with the big brands, but
Sure.
that balance again. If he wanted to create his own sneaker, I'm sure he wouldn't have any challenges selling that out, depending on inventory. You got to be thoughtful about how many you make, like
Sure.
anything.
Sure. Yep.
But yeah, it's a really exciting time. The brands are going to do what they do. They're going to retro sneakers. They're going to do collabs. They're going to do interesting stuff. But I'm just really curious, like, rest in peace to Virgil. But who's the next Virgil Abloh?
Right.
Like, who's that person going to be? And is Nike going to find them, or are they going to put themselves on the map because they said, you know what, screw it, I can do this on my own. Let's let the people support me.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a lot going on, obviously, with COVID and delays, and
Yeah.
there do seem to have been fewer releases in general, maybe over the last few months. With all these with all this disruption, like is there anything that we should be on the lookout for as far as like can we take this, can we use this to our advantage, or are we going to see just like a flood of releases in the back half of the year, or what's kind of going on with all of the
Yeah.
shipping delays and all that type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating because it's fragmenting the release experience, right? It's not as simple as like, hey, it's all going to drop on Saturday and we're done. It's like it's going to drop for like 3 months, and that's challenging. But that's why we're building some of that technology to help people keep up with it in a simple way. There's some good things that are coming out of that, and I just mentioned this to members last night, which is stores have a lot of inventory now from older stuff along with new stuff, and they have bills to pay. And I'm seeing some crazy discounts right now, like buy one get one free, 40% off sale items. Like stores want to move inventory because again, they don't have the space, to have
Right.
bills to pay. So it's creating good opportunities for us to save some money. At the same time, the counter to that is if stuff's late, resale prices are inflated, which is why I literally for now 7 months, 8 months going on straight, I've been telling people, do not pay resale. Everything's way more than it needs to be. Just be patient. There's always something releasing. So, but FOMO is a hard thing to punch in the face sometimes.
Yeah, that is one, just to go back to the community aspect of it. It's like I'm a member of a Discord for a couple of very, brands, and it's
Yeah.
like, well, it's a great thing for business because once you start talking to everybody, that you just feed off of the excitement, and it's definitely an easy way to want to buy even more than we already do. So
Yeah, and I'm preaching the opposite. I'm like, yo, just remember, like, there's other people you can give your money to next week, next
yeah,
month.
yeah,
Hold it for stuff you really care about, because again, it's really easy to just fall in the trap of, let me buy this thing to fill some sort of hole that's been created, whatever reason that is.
yeah.
But what happens is, like, 2 months passes by and you look at it and go, wish I had that $200, right? You gotta just be patient, and
Well, I
that's
mean,
what father.
I'm sure you can tell. It's like there's only so many sneakers you can wear in a given year, so
Yeah,
you definitely like you've
yeah,
got some that you're collecting or icing or whatever. But as far as like personals and what you're putting on the toe, that there's you just can't get a ton of wear out of 75
yeah.
different sneakers. So
I
uh,
mean, try 500. I have sneakers on right now. These are my office shoes that I just wear that never go outside, but I like having them when I stand up.
what are those?
I'm wearing some New Balance Concepts.
Oh,
These
dang.
are just
Okay, I like that colorway.
I love these. They're comfortable. They're easy to throw on my feet,
Yeah.
and they have not seen outside in months. These are just my office shoes. I got a couple down here.
So it's a sneaker, but it's also a house shoe for you.
I mean, it's still a shoe.
Yeah,
At the end of the day. Yeah. Where I wear it is doesn't matter as much.
absolutely. Well, DP, man, thank you so much for being here and giving us your time, talking with us and the Club Cool fam and the listeners out there. I mentioned the SoleSavy and the Tier Zero podcast, which you can definitely listen to wherever you're listening to Club Cool. DP, where can we follow you on Twitter or Instagram or any socials like that?
Yeah, I'm at DP16. I think literally everywhere. SoleSavy, at SoleSavy, SoleSavy, 1V, not two, purposely misspelled. We can answer that. We can answer the why of that in another podcast. But yeah, we're doing some great things for the space. We're trying to give back to the culture and to the people as much as we can. And it starts with community and just being a part of something that you love, and that's important in the day. That's what happiness is.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said repeatedly, the community for me is definitely kind of the coolest thing that I've experienced so far with SoleSavy. So go check it out. I'm pretty sure our promo is still running, solesavy.com/clubcool, if you're interested in joining DP and getting yourself on there and having some fun with like-minded individuals and attempting
Yep.
to cop some of these sneakers. DP, once again, thank you for your time. We appreciate it, and we'll be looking for everything coming from SoleSavy in 2022.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on and just talking through everything.